Okay. Well, perfect.
Dude,
Remind me your first name.
I am Luke.
Luke, like Star Wars.
Yes, and my name is also in the Bible, Luke.
Oh, that's a biblical name too. I know that. That's for sure.
Amen, brother.
Amen, bro. Good. What's going on today?
So, I have some the Osmonds questions. So like I don't know if your brother Alan probably knows this.
Oh, he's my father.
That is incredible, man.
I think so too.
So, one of my question is, looking back at the early days with the Osmond brothers, is there a particular moment or performance that stands out as a turning point in your career?
Well, I'm a second generation, and so watching my father and uncles perform all those years, I got to go on the tour buses with them on the road and got to see them perform. Now, I grew up on the set of the Donnie Marie show, so I was there for all the television excitement, but also part of the country music career that they had. A lot of people, still remember their country hits. But I just remember seeing how much fun they would have out there. And
a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll.
That's right. You got that. In fact, my father wrote the theme song of the Donnie Marie show.
Wow.
A song, May Tomorrow Be a Perfect Day. Song. Yeah, he wrote that. My dad wrote that. So he was the leader of the Osmonds. He's got a brand new book that's coming out September 28th.
I just heard, yeah.
.com. And anyways, it's really, really exciting times. But just wanted to let you know that, I just remember watching how much fun they had, and I said, I want to do that too.
So, another question is, when is I'm Still Gonna Need You structured the way it is, with the specific number of verses and chorus repetitions, and what led to the changes we hear in the alternate version? So the one that I was talking about is the 21st hits version, which is this version right here.
Yes.
And then this one, the time code, even though it says 4 minutes and 10 seconds, but the one that we hear on the Proud one is 3 minutes and 25 seconds. So what led to the changes of the song structure?
That would probably be a Curb Records question. I wasn't involved in that decision or what was cut in, out, or left in. So I would have to go listen to that. I'm sorry I don't have the answer for you, but
now I do remember I do remember that Merrill, he sang the verse 2 line, and I was like, wow.
Oh yeah, the Proud one you're talking about?
No, the song I'm Still Gonna Need You.
Oh yeah, my brothers and I actually did a cover of that song on one of our albums as well. And
that's cool, man.
What we added was a little bit of a breakdown, kind of a descant that we started singing. You're the only girl I ever catch in my heart. If you leave me now, to you, let me all alone. You're the only girl for me, baby. You should know. Jerry Williams, who was Marie's and Donnie's musical director for years, and they're going Vegas and everywhere. He came up with that descant that we recorded as part of that "I'm Still Gonna Need You" song. But it's such a great tune. We absolutely love that song.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to reissue The Wonderful World of the Osmond Brothers on CD, vinyl, or digital platforms? Fans would love to know if there's anything in the works. So, in fact, I actually have the real version of The Wonderful World of the Osmond Brothers that came out back in from that time period of
Yeah.
the 60s, and I want to show it to you.
Let me see it.
Ta-da!
Oh, wow. Where'd you get that?
I got it from Discogs, Discogs,
Uh-huh.
and it's still in the glorious packaging, Nathan. I mean, really.
Oh, that's some prestige.
And the pro about this particular record, I love the actual production on here.
What's one of your favorite Osmond songs?
Oh man, for this one, I love Groove With What You Got, Groove With What You Got. When you got somebody's loving, you really got a lot.
Nice.
I love I've got loving on my mind. I've got loving on my mind.
Sing it. I love it.
I love
Awesome.
Molly A, Make the Music Flow, Clouds, Mary Elizabeth, Speak Like a Child, Taking a Chance on Love. I've heard that I think a YouTube channel called All You Need Is Lunch, and there are 11 songs, 34 minutes and 25 seconds, and all in all, the whole entire record, like, great productions. Like, I even didn't know Alan, Wayne, Merrill, and Jay actually wrote Taking On a Big Thing, and I heard it and I went, wow, that is incredible.
That's a neat song. That's actually about Joseph Smith Jr., who was able to restore the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
That's awesome, man.
About that song.
That's
you're
awesome.
Taking on a big thing. Yeah. Hey, Joe, you're taking on a big thing.
Now, my con is why is it rare only in Japan and the Netherlands, and why in the US we want to hear it on, CD or vinyl or digital platforms? Like, that would be really cool, man.
I think so. There is the Osmond Family Hour that Tom Roach does on my DNR radio, and you can listen to that every day, just about online. But I'd like to see more of this digitized and put on Apple Music.
Yeah, and I've heard that CDs are actually back, and I said, hey, that would be really cool to actually put all of the Osmonds, like, past projects on CD. Like, that would be really cool, man.
They have a lot of great songs, and I'd like to see all of it digitized and made available to the public. You're going to hear some of these Osmond stories that my father wrote in his book coming out September 28th. Once again, it's called Alan Osmond, One Way Ticket. And we're really excited. He's actually autographed the first 500 copies on Amazon. So if you're one of the first 500 to get that book, you'll get an autographed copy.
Woo!
So it sounds like you're a big fan, bro.
Yeah. My parents actually watched the Donnie and Marie show.
That's awesome. I was on that show as a kid.
Wow. And the Osmond studio was actually where Kids Incorporated had the pilot shot.
Yeah. They also shot Dumb and Dumber in there.
Really? I didn't know that.
They shot a lot of cool things there in that studio. But, yeah, they've done a lot. The Children's Miracle Network telethons originated there in that studio as well. And, my grandmother had started the Osmond Foundation for Children of the World, and they approached her to see if they could, utilize their 501c3 status and the studio and change the whole purpose of it for helping kids in hospitals instead of just deaf children.
Oh, wow.
So she said, well, how can we pass up any child? And then that became the Children's Miracle Network. So that all started around our kitchen table with tuna fish sandwiches. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy, man.
$5 billion for children's hospitals. Isn't that cool?
It is.
We're really proud of their legacy. But that's awesome, brother. How old are you?
23.
And you know the Osmonds? I think that's awesome.
Like through their like discography, and I didn't know that the original album version for My Mom, which is on the on the new sound of the Osmond brothers, had a acoustic guitar intro, and there's no backing vocals.
Oh my goodness. Have you ever heard the Plan album?
Yes. I love his.
That's one of my favorites.
Loving it can be so easy. Loving it can make me walk. Ever since the day I met you, I tried, but I just can't get you out of my mind.
Yeah, Let Me In. That's a good one.
I love Let Me In.
You know, this year is the 50th anniversary of the Plan album.
Really?
This year.
You know, I have another question is, were there any demos, outtakes, alternate versions, songs from the you know, like example, you know, like as what you said, the Plan album, or even Brainstorm sessions that didn't make it onto the album? And could there be more records coming from those sessions?
I don't know, to be honest, because, you know, I'm the second generation. I'm not part of the first generation, even though I've sung with them for years. You know, we moved to Branson, Missouri. I got to record and sing with the brothers. We've been on television together singing. You know, I just did an event the other day with Merrill, you know, and
wow.
It's fun to get to still rub shoulders with my father and uncles. And my father is now retired. You know, he got MS when I was 10 years old, and it kind of took him out of show business, but he still writes songs to this day.
God bless him, man. Wow.
Yeah, he'd like to do a follow-up to the album, the Plan album, and call it The Way.
Wow.
So that would be a really cool album. He's thinking about having the second generation perhaps help him with that. So I'm sure there's more music to come. I'm still doing my music. I do country music. I got 4 number 1s in country, which is fun. So I don't know if you've heard of Nathan Osmond, but that's me.
Yep.
And I'm the second oldest of Alan's family, and he has 8 boys. So
Michael, Nathan, Douglas, David.
Scott, John, Alex, Tyler. There's 8 of us. Did you know that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But we're having a good time, and just like our slogan has been, we're going to keep doing it till we get it right.
That's right.
That's so cool, man. I love your passion for the Osmond music.
Thank you. Now, were there any plans to re-release some of your past projects, like songs we sang on the Andy Williams show, new sound of the Osmond brothers, or any classic albums? Or do you decide which projects get a new life and which stay in the vault? Like,
you know, that's really a Curb Records, because they own, I think, most of their discography.
Wow.
To have, you know, Mike Curb decides that. But it would be cool to get some of those older, you know, even the Christmassy stuff they did on the Andy Williams shows, and some of those harmonies and barbershop quartet recordings to come out, because those are so special, you know. And that's where Donnie and Marie got their first start, was on the Andy Williams shows. And it was originally my father, which is Alan,
right,
Wayne, Merrill,
Jay, Donnie, Marie, Jimmy.
And then Donnie joined, and they were the Osmond brothers still. And then Marie got old enough to come in the group, and so they became the Osmonds. And then, of course, the Donnie and Marie show started. Jimmy joined the group as well, the baby Jimmy. And he was the youngest of the family. And he actually was the first Osmond to get a gold record.
Wow.
In Japan. And he won Male Vocalist of the Year at the age of 5 in Japan, beating out Tom Jones and Frank Sinatra.
That is incredible.
Yeah, little Jimmy Osmond is all grown up now.
So Curb is usually is it major?
Well, Mike Curb is the one who owns Curb Records, and he's the one who owns their stuff. In fact, he signed my brothers and me with our first record label deal on Curb Records. I was signed on Curb, and also on Epic Sony over in Europe. And we had 3 songs in the top 40 in the UK, my brothers and I, the Osmonds of the generation.
Yeah.
Best of the Osmonds, yeah.
I actually got this on Christmas.
Nice. Which song do you like best on that album?
Always One Bad Apple. Always love One Bad Apple. Another one is Crazy Horses.
My dad wrote that one.
He also, I've also heard from Donnie. Alan also did the electric guitar intro.
Well, yeah. And that was my father came up with that sound on the keyboard as he started playing with it. He said it sounds like a horse.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy horses. What is this supposed to be about? They wanted to have a statement song, and they thought horsepower, pollution. There's a message floating in the air.
Come from crazy horses riding everywhere.
Yeah. It's a message, it's in.
It's a warning, it's in every tongue. Got
Crazy horses on the run. So what does he say? What a show, there they go, smoking up the sky. Remember pollution?
Yeah.
Crazy horses all got riders, and they're you and I. So this is kind of like an environmental kind of an awareness song that the brothers put out right before the Plan album came out. Crazy Horses album came out. So 51 years ago, Crazy Horses hit the airwaves, and it was actually banned in South Africa because I guess the word horses means heroin.
Yeah, that's what Alan said. Yeah.
Yeah. And so everyone thought the Osmonds were singing about marijuana. And no, we weren't. We're talking about pollution and power. So
And
anyways, but that's kind of funny. My father sang the lead vocal on the song Movie Man, which is on the Plan album.
I've heard of that one. Why did you do it? You said that made your mother cry.
Yeah, that was my father singing that. But he didn't have as many solos as, say, like Merrill or Donnie.
Yeah.
You know, he and Wayne were kind of more the guitar players and like the harmonizers and the very difficult harmonies. Wayne was the bass, but not the bass player. Merrill was the bass player. Merrill's a left-handed bass player. And when they met Paul McCartney, Paul gave Merrill one of his own basses because he's also a left-handed bassist.
Like, for me, when I first heard Movie Man, I thought it was Jay doing it.
Yeah, that's Alan. In fact, that one went to #1 in France.
Wow. So
Movie Man, yeah.
I wonder how many pressings that they had for Movie Man, because every time when I'm on the Osmonds discography, like on Discogs, discogs.com, it shows the Osmond brothers, the Osmonds, Jimmy Osmond, Marie Osmond. It showed all of the Osmonds discography, including Donnie Osmond, like 1988 album.
They sold over 100 million records.
Wow.
A lot of records. We're very proud of their legacy, and to be a son of Alan Osmond, you know, it's just really humbling to see the success they had, and yet they were able to maintain their faith, their families.
Yeah.
You know, they've struggled with their health a bit, you know, as we all do sometimes in life, but, you know, to this day, they're all very close. All of them are still alive, and it's just an honor to get to follow that legacy.
Now, does the Osmonds still owns the Branson, Missouri?
Jimmy, who bought that theater, sold it. It was the Osmond Family Theater, and he sold it just before this tornado came through. It was good timing to sell it.
Amen to that, brother.
And he took the money, and Andy Williams sold him his theater, which Jimmy bought that theater. I've performed in that theater several times. But just a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, Jimmy had a stroke. And
oh, wow.
To kind of take a lot of the stress off of his plate, which is not good for people with strokes or anybody for that matter, they ended up selling the Andy Williams Theater. And so it's no longer in the family, but he'll always be family to us. But it was fun to get to even stay there in the theater, because Andy Williams had a nice apartment that was part of there. And when I was doing the shows, they let me stay in Andy's apartment after he passed away, obviously. And so it was fun to get to not only stay in his apartment, but also getting to sing into his microphone. I got to sing in the Andy Williams microphone. That was pretty cool.
Like, I've heard that Donnie and Michael were actually, like close friends, like great friends, close. And
very close friends. In fact, Donnie and Michael Jackson are the same age. They're the lead singer of a 5-brother band. Their mothers share the same birthday. A lot of cool things like that, a lot of similarities. And even when Michael was going through those trials, Donnie called him up and said, "Hey, Michael, why don't you come to my house here in Utah? Get away from all the press. Nobody will even know you're up here. Just hang out by my swimming pool." And Michael was like, "I would love to, Donnie. They just won't let me leave." And so they were close friends. I'm the one that told Donnie when Michael passed. I informed him that the news had just announced that he had just passed away. Because I texted him, "Michael Jackson just passed away." He goes, "No, he's having heart complications." He hadn't yet heard the news that he had passed. And I said, "Well, TMZ just announced that he died." And he writes to me and he goes, "Oofda." In fact, Donnie just texted me a few minutes ago. We're really close, he and I. And
wow.
It's just, yeah. And then a few minutes, go by, about an hour almost. And he texts me back and he goes, "It's been confirmed that Michael passed." He called Michael Jackson's mother and she confirmed that he had passed. So anyways, yeah, they were very close. My dad was close with the brothers, the Jackson 5. They even played basketball together as kids. And when they first met the Jacksons, the Osmonds, the Jacksons said to the Osmonds, "Hey, our father used to make us watch you guys, on the Andy Williams shows." And he would say to us, "Now, boys, that's how you got to perform."
Wow.
And my dad and uncles were thinking, "Well, we were watching you guys say, guys, that's how we got to perform." So they inspired each other, which I think is pretty cool. Like, everybody thought Bad Apple was the Jackson 5.
Now,
but it's really the Osmonds. See, Donnie had that same vocal.
That is amazing, man.
Yeah. Very, very cool histories.
Like, I've heard, I was talking with, Chloe. She's one of my special need, friends, that I went to, Full Sail, university with. So I was asking her and I said, "So who owned the, master tape recordings back in the early days?" Because I think most of the Osmonds records, they would use the master tape, right?
Yeah.
So I asked one of my friends from college and I said, "So who owns the Jackson 5, the Jacksons, and Michael Jackson's recordings? Like their demos, their outtakes, their alternate versions of the albums?" And I said, "Well, Motown, which is still here today," which that's something I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And also Universal Music Group, which REM was also part of. And I've heard about, the Universal Music Group, Universal Music Group, the fire that was burned back in 2008. And I said, "Man, I wonder how many like unreleased recordings that were in that, vault, and how many that have been burned or saved."
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy when a song will come out after an artist has passed away, that nobody's heard of, and to have their life continue on, so to speak, here musically. Some of these songs are timeless, and it's so neat that our art can live on long after we're gone. Michael Jackson's still hot today. Look at Elvis Presley. He was a good friend of the Osmonds too. And Elvis used to come watch the Osmonds perform at the International, which is now the Las Vegas Hilton.
Wow.
I've performed on that same stage, which was cool because I've heard all the stories about when Elvis would come watch my father perform. The same guy that made Elvis's jumpsuits is the same guy that made the Osmonds jumpsuits. So they had the same tailor. Isn't that cool?
That is. Now,
but he used to send a bouquet of flowers in the shape of a guitar backstage to my father and uncles.
Yeah.
And he just loved up on him. He loved my grandmother because she reminded him a lot of his mother who had passed away. And so my father was talking to Elvis on the phone one night, and he called him up to visit with Alan. And as he was chatting with him, he said, "Hey, is your mother there, Olive?" Now, he loved my grandma, like I said, because she reminded him a lot of his mom who passed away. And Elvis and my grandmother were both theologians. They loved religion. They loved to study it. They loved the scriptures. And they had the best gospel doctrine, conversation. Just went on forever. And he's like, "Oh, man, this is fascinating." He loved what my grandma was sharing with him. And he says, Olive, I hate to end this. He says, "How about we do this? How about you guys come up to my house in California sometime? We'll have a barbecue and we'll continue this conversation." And she's like, "Elvis, we'd love that." Of course, their schedules are so busy. They didn't do that, unfortunately. But he was a good friend.
I'm just blown away by that. Like, I'm just blown away by that story. I'm like, wow.
Nice histories there. The Osmonds got to work with everybody just about in the business, because they were just kids when they started on the Andy Williams shows. My dad was 12 and he became a regular on his show, and he was the oldest. So just think how young they were when they got started. They literally had grown up on television in America, fell in love with this family, and I'm just so grateful to carry that name. I don't take it lightly. I think what a blessing it is. I'm grateful for the example they've been in this industry. I'm grateful for their successes and the way that they haven't let it go to their heads. My father told us as the Osmond second generation, he says, "Boys, I might have MS, but I also have a really fast foot. And if you ever start thinking you're better than somebody else, I'll kick you out of this business." And so we weren't allowed to act that way, just like he wasn't allowed to act that way. One time the Jackson 5 were in their individual limos driving past the Osmond bus. Yeah. They were all over as one group on one bus. And one of the brothers said, "How come we can't have our own limousines?" And my grandfather, George, who I'm named after, my middle name is George.
Wow.
He said to his boys, "You'll thank me one of these days." So he was very frugal and tried to hold on to their money, But anyway, so yeah, they were kept very grounded.
I remember there was a cartoon from the Osmonds, and they would do their voices. Well, for the Jackson 5, they were on tour.
Yeah, exactly. They have their own cartoon series, just like the Jacksons. The Osmonds were sometimes known as the White Jackson 5 because they were so similar in sound, and 5 brothers, and they were known as the original boy band, the Osmonds. And it's really kind of cool to think of that history, But my father, he's really down to earth and doesn't let his fame, go to his head. He's just a humble giant. And this book that's coming out on September 28th on Amazon, make sure you guys go get that copy. See if you can get an autographed copy that way. First 500 copies are autographed.
I will check it out, man. I will check it out.
One-way ticket. You remember that song, One-Way Ticket?
One-way ticket to anywhere. There's no place we can't go. One-way ticket to anywhere.
That's the name of this new book, is One-Way Ticket. So we're excited about that. It's going to be really cool. And I even got to write a little section in his book from Nathan.
Jay actually sang it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's a great, great song and a great book. It's taken 75 years to write. It says my father's 75 years old. And
God bless
how much
him,
he wants to share in this book.
Wow.
So you're going to love it. There's some special pictures in there and everything to just tell the story. So
unreleased photos.
You know what? It's actually a neat perspective, too, because every Osmond's written a book except Alan. And so this is from the perspective of the leader of the group, who was there through all of it, and was old enough to remember all of it and how it was and what happened. And they had good things happen to him, bad things happen to him. They had the entire Plan album written and music and everything, and it all burned up in a hotel fire. And they had to recreate it from scratch, from memory. How was that? How'd that song go? It's like, what? So it came out the way it was supposed to come out, but they're very, very proud of that Plan album.
Now, does the new book talks about Crazy Horses, like how Alan wrote the intro and
Oh yeah.
and why Donnie said
Carol
like
and Wayne were also part of the writing of that song, but my father's the one that heard that sound on the keyboard, you know, and he said he's the one that came up with that idea of horses and horsepower.
Yeah.
Let's write this song called Crazy Horses, but Merrill and Wayne were also part of the writing of that song.
And
it became
also
their biggest rock song.
Also, I've heard from the Art of Guitar YouTube channel, he said that Donnie's voice was going through some puberty change.
Yeah, well, that's how Donnie and Marie became a duo, was because of puberty. They were recording a song called "I'm Leaving It All Up to You." Donnie started recording it, but then he went on tour, and when he came back to finish it, his voice had dropped.
Wow.
And those high parts. So Marie's like, I can hit that. And they're thinking, well, why don't you go in and put your vocal on there, see how it sounds? And when they did, they heard that family blend, and they were like, a brother and sister duo? That's where the idea was born. It was because of puberty.
Yep. And everybody goes through that.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what.
He's got a good range, Donnie does.
It doesn't matter what generation it comes from, but everybody's voice change.
Oh, yeah. Even women's voices change throughout time, you know? So it's just what it is. I had to sing tenor in my group, so I had to do all the high stuff, you know, really high. It was Bob Hope that discovered our group back in 1986 when he saw this article that was written in People magazine about this new generation of Osmonds, and he's like, I want those boys on my show. And so he called us, and we got to be on the Bob Hope Christmas special in 1986.
Wow.
Herb Records, who made the Osmonds famous with their label, said, hey, let's do it again. They signed us up as the Osmond Boys, or the second generation. So we've had a lot of fun in performing and things, and but we all have to give thanks to the Osmonds, the first generation,
now,
for the path that they paved for us.
Did Wayne sang I Can't Stop? Because I remember Wayne was singing the part like, if I tumble, if I fall, I bounce just like a rubber ball. And I was like,
right.
Is that their first song that they ever wrote in the studio?
I don't, you know, that's a good question for my dad. I'll have to ask him that question. You'll have to interview my father sometime, because I know that would mean a lot, you know, for you to get to talk to the leader of the Osmonds.
Yeah.
When his book comes out, we'll have to see if we can line up something for you, Luke.
Woohoo!
Maybe you can interview my father.
Hey, I'm having a blast, Nathan.
Me too. I appreciate your interest in our family.
Hey, and my family also loves Disney, just like you guys.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. Oh, Walt Disney is the one that gave the Osmonds their first start before Andy. You know, they went down to meet the stars, and they got a map of where the stars live, and they knocked on their doors. You get arrested doing that today. But Grandpa George was bold, and he knocked on the door of the Lennon sisters, who were on the Lawrence Welk show. And he says, hey, these are my sons, the Osmond brothers. They like to sing you a song. And they did. They sang back and forth. The girls would sing to the brothers, and the brothers sing to the girls. And they said, hey, you guys are really good. You should meet our boss, Lawrence Welk. And now they didn't have an official meeting scheduled with him, but they got all dressed up. They went down there the next day, and he was in the offices in the very next room. But for whatever reason, he never came out to say hi to him.
Wow.
They didn't even take a picture with him. He left, and it just broke their hearts. So Grandma said, George, let's go to Disneyland, and let's just, then we'll go back home to Ogden, Utah, and let these boys live a normal life. Well, because they were dressed up for an audition that never happened for Lawrence Welk, they go to Disneyland all dressed up like a group. Well, the Dapper Dance, who sing Barbershop Harmony on their bicycles up and down, Disney's Main Street, they saw these little boys dressed up like a group, and they said, you guys look like a group. And they said, well, we are. He says, well, sing us a song. And so right there on Disneyland's Main Street, the Osmond brothers performed publicly for the first time, really. They sang at church and stuff. And it was just to entertain the Dapper Dance, because they asked them to sing. Everybody started gathering around. They thought it was part of the attraction at Disneyland. Well, word got out to Walt, and he actually hired them to come sing at Disneyland in the park. And they did an after-hours Disneyland special and everything before Andy discovered these boys. But it was because of the
Wow.
and Walt Disney that they got the opportunity to be discovered by by Andy Williams' father, who's the one that called him and said, "You need to get these boys on your show." And that's where they got their big break, was because of Andy Williams. But Walt Disney is the first one to really hire them as a performing act in the park.
That is incredible, man.
Yeah.
I'm just blown away by your story and by my story, man.
I wasn't even born then, but I carried on the name, through country music with my 4 number ones, and of course my brothers and my hits, and things like that. But it's just so much fun to get to do music. I've recorded with the brothers. I did the background vocals for the Donnie and Marie show in Vegas, the one that won all those awards and stuff. And it's just been fun to get to work with my family. At the end of the day, we're just family. Even when we get together, we don't even sing. It's almost like, where's the basketball? That's, we're not allowed to talk about business because we want to keep family and business, And oftentimes those two bleed together and it can cause issues with family. So we kind of have a rule, in our family reunions that we don't ever talk business. Let's just talk family, right? And so
that's true, yeah.
Grateful for that example because it's really easy because we're all in the same business. And oftentimes, you're not really competing, but sometimes you might think you are. I don't look at myself as being a competition to any of my family. I didn't even tell my family I was going out to Nashville to pursue country music. I just went out and I did it. I got produced by Lone Star, and we got 4 number ones now, which is fun. And I just played myself in a movie, which is fun, And
that's awesome.
Cool. I played Nathan Osmond in a movie.
I've heard.
How crazy is that, right? We've had fun.
I've heard. "Love Me for a Reason" was also covered by Boyzone.
Yeah, it was, and actually another group did it as well. It's been a big hit by multiple groups after the Osmonds first recorded.
And I'm like, so I told one of my friends from college, I think it was Chloe, and I said, "So who's the original artist that did Love Me for a Reason?" And I said, the Osmonds. The Osmonds did Love Me for a Reason. These people are doing a copyright infringement. That's what's going on.
We call it a cover, right? They're doing a cover of the Osmonds hit. But the thing is that even before Puppy Love was done by Donny Osmond, Paul Anka did it. And it was a hit. So Donnie's Puppy Love song was actually a cover of a Paul Anka song. So we all do it. But the thing is that when the Osmonds were presented that song, Love Me for a Reason, by the record label, they sat down together around this big boardroom table and says, "We got a surefire number 1 hit. You got to hear this." In fact, we have the songwriter himself sitting right here at the table. He wanted to see your reactions when you first hear this song. And so they played the song, and they start looking at each other like, "We can't record this song." Like, what? Because there are certain things, the way that the writer had written the song, that was a little risque for the Osmond standards, as good family people. And they thought to themselves, this is brother, you're one talented songwriter. My grandmother even spoke up and said, "You know what? We love the song. We think it's a great song. I'm sure it'll be a number 1 hit for somebody, but unfortunately, we can't record it the way that it's written right now. There's some certain words in there and things that we just don't feel comfortable singing." And this songwriter starts getting emotional. He starts tearing up and crying,
Wow.
Here in the office of the record label, and the record label's freaking out like, "Oh no, the Osmonds just offended the number 1 songwriter in the country." And this man looks at my family with tears in his eyes, and he says, "You know what? If my mama were here right now, she would slap my face. Let's go rewrite those lyrics." And they did, and it went to number 1. And now Boyzone and all these other groups have recorded that song. I served a 2-year Spanish-speaking mission for my church in Chile. And I remember on one of our break days where I was there getting a Whopper, eating a burger in Chile, Boyzone's Love Me for a Reason come over the radio. And I just smiled because if my father and his family hadn't spoken up, Sure, it could have still gone to #1 and done all that, but I would have been listening to filthy lyrics. I was so proud of their standards that he decided, you know what, here's what we will and will not sing. And because of that, it's been a hit for multiple groups. And none of us had to listen to those filthy lyrics.
Like for me, like for songwriting, it's like you're telling a story.
Yeah.
And it's like you're writing your own book.
Yeah.
And your song title and your song title and the number is a chapter, and the lyrics are the details of your song.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And I think every songwriter should definitely tell its own perspective.
Oh, for sure.
For storytelling.
That's right. No, it's a really important thing that we need to do is be picky what we're going to put out there into the world, because, you know, future generations are going to hear our music and we'll be responsible for the example that we set, you know, which is so cool that those in the industry, that do the Osmonds, still to this day speak so highly of them.
Another one is I have lifted up the corners of my heart so that you can come into the warmest part, and I have broken down the fences of my mind. I think about your loving all the time.
Nice. You got that down. Meryl will be proud.
Yeah. I mean,
one of their country hits.
I mean, I would say to Meryl, like, hey, ask me. I'm a great singer, man.
There you go. I love it.
Like, I know the whole entire, like, song for...
Oh, yeah. I am so impressed that a guy that's your age knows all of these songs. You've obviously followed these guys forever. And we're just so honored and touched. I'm so grateful you asked me to be on your show, you know, to have this opportunity to talk about my family. And everybody that's listening to this will go check out some of these songs. And I hope that they'll go order Alan Osmond, One Way Ticket, the book coming out September 28th. Go on Amazon and download it. Anywhere the books are sold, you'll be able to find this awesome memoir that my father's written with Debbie Eiler Rasmussen, and it's a really great book. Now they got Richard Paul Evans, who's also adding to the book. It's going to print tomorrow. On September 11th, my father's book is going to print. So we're so excited that it's coming out September 28th. So make sure you guys go get your copies and learn about this singing family from Utah. Well, thanks for having me on the show, Luke. Sure.
Thank you, Nathan. I had a blast, man.
Well, ditto. Well, I hope that your listeners will love this. And do you need anything else from me before we hang up?
I think we're all good, man.
All right, brother. Well, you take it easy and then reach out to me and I'll see if I can line up an interview with my father, okay?
All right. God bless you, man.
All right. You take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.